If you haven't heard, Google has just made their digital assistant available on other devices besides just Android phones. If you're unfamiliar with what the digital assistant is, it's kind of like Siri or Alexa, where it'll give you advice, answer questions, give you directions, that kind of thing. So the beauty of this is, though, is that now anyone can install the assistant on any of their devices, which offers a lot of flexibility for an individual to build it into their own projects. So Google has put together some instructions on how to install it on a Raspberry Pi 3. Well, I don't have a Raspberry Pi 3, I have a Raspberry Pi Zero W, and the process was a little different. So I'm going to do a walkthrough of what I went through to get it working on my Raspberry Pi. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Here's my Raspberry Pi Zero W here. You can see it has a USB-A to micro USB adapter. Also plugged into it is my sound card, which is a very generic Sabrant audio USB sound card. I'll include the details in the description. It was $10 when I purchased it at Micro Center. I also got a really cheap microphone there, definitely less than $10. So I have my microphone. Here's the input to my microphone here, and then here's the output, which is going to my computer just so we can record the commands. So yes, this is my current setup for the Raspberry Pi Zero W. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how I set it up. Here we are on the Google Assistant SDK page. Here are the instructions on how to get started with the Raspberry Pi and Python. I'm going to just glance over the setup and hardware network access. I'm not going to go through how to set up network on your Pi. You probably have already done that if you own a Pi Zero W. Also, I'd definitely suggest that you have SSH configured on it. I know for me, that's pretty much my keyboard input. I cannot control it through through the USB port on the device because that's where my sound card is plugged in. And unless you have some way of plugging in multiple devices into that port, then SSH is probably your only way to go on this. I'm also really not going to go through on how to set it up with the Google Developer Project. It's pretty straightforward and easy to follow. Just go through the steps on this page, and you can get. You'll just have to you definitely have to download the file, like the client secret JSON file, and import it. But it's not too difficult. The part that I had a few little troubles with, especially with the instructions, were just, for one thing, configuring the test audio. So it doesn't really follow the order, or at least the logical order I would typically follow with this. I'd actually start this part first and get the card number and the device number. So so both of these will on your particular on the sound card itself, you want to get the device number, the card number and the device number for the input, which is AR record, and the output, which is a play, a record and a play. So let's see. I'm just going to so if I want to get the information for a record, and here it says the card is 1 and the device is 0. I want to enter this down here so here's my mic, this is the input, so I'm going to enter the card number and the device number. So I'm just going to, let's pull up TextEdit. I actually have already kind of stored these values. Same thing you do for a play. And so in this case, I have a few different sound outputs, but I want to use the output from the audio card. And in this case, it's actually here, 2835. No, actually it's here, card 1, device 0. So USB audio device. So this is my output device. So let's see. So as you can see, I have the input 1 0 and playback 1 0. That's pretty much the card and device number for that sound card. Then I'm going to. They said to create a new file called ASSoundRec in the home directory. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to still copy this. And I'm going to do sudo vi. Let's see. Etc asound.conf. And I'm gonna enter my card number and device number for both my input and output. Okay, I'm going to do escape and then WQ, right quit, and should have saved that file. To load those settings, I'm going to now do a reboot. So it's not really going to show any reboot in the SSH command prompt, but my card is rebooting right now. I'm going to open up another window. Okay. So let's see. Now I'm going to go and try to test my sound setup here with a speaker test. So let's see. You can see that the audio is being returned to my computer. You should be able to hear front left. It's only mono right now, it looks like. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to try following this one where you're actually recording a raw file. Testing, testing, testing. This is a test. And then I'm going to try playing it back. So you should have heard my voice being played back through the computer that's coming out of my sound card. So now I know that my sound configuration is working. Then I'm going to click on configure and run sample. So it's always good. It's always good to do an apt-get update. Just to see if there are any updates to the repos. And I'm only installing Python 3. If you want to install Python 2, you can follow the instructions. It's taking a little longer than I wanted to. One thing that wasn't mentioned in the instructions was how to install pip, Python's package manager. So I'm going to also include this. They have kind of their instructions for installing Python 3 dev and Python 3 VNV, which is their virtual environment. But they don't really include pip. So let's see. I'm going to follow this step. And I'm also going to include Python 3 pip. Yes, I want to download everything. I'm going to take a break and we will get back. I'll get back to you once the packages have been installed, just so you don't have to sit through this. Okay, my packages have been installed. Now I'm going to run Python 3 mvenv, which, let's see. And then let's run the setup tools. Which may be unnecessary because we already installed pip, but I'm just going to run them. Yeah. Let's try it with sudo. Okay. Well, let's see if pip's on here. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So there's some dependencies for this sample code. I'm going to install those. It's really not much different, this setup, than their instructions. Mostly it was the sound card configuration. I'm going to go offline right now, just also because don't want you to have to sit through all the installation. So the samples dependencies have been installed. I'm now going to get the package. So the next step now is to run your sample. You do have to authorize the Google Assistant SDK with that client secret JSON file that you downloaded. When doing the configure a developer project and account settings part, you should have used SSH to upload it to your Raspberry Pi and then go ahead and run it. So I'm going to run this to authorize it. And there's a few little parts I need to replace on this. Oh. Again, I'm using Python 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace that. And my JSON file, of course, has its own kind of string attached to it. So I'm just going to client. And I'm storing it in my not my Pi user directory, but my own. Okay, so there's the JSON file. It's a pretty long string. And then I'm going to assign it. And then it will send you a link to the website that you have to do this to actually activate your app. It will generate and then I just copy the code from here and okay, so my credentials have been saved for this particular app. Now I can start the Google Assistant. source, Python 3. Okay. So now I can go ahead and if I hit enter and record a query, it should give me an answer. How long is the Great Wall of China?
Here's a summary from Travel China Guide. The length of the Great Wall of Ming Dynasty was 5,500.3 miles from Hushin in Liaoning to Jiayuguan Pass. To read more, look for the link in your Google Home app.
As you can see, now I have Google Assistant working on my Raspberry Pi Zero W. If you have any questions, feel free to leave questions or comments. Feel free to leave them. I know I may have left out some parts, so if you have, I might be able to help you if you're stuck on a particular point. Anyway, happy hacking!